Is this shadow warm or cool? What color am I actually seeing? If I get this wrong, the whole painting falls apart. Is this brown or green, or am I just a fraud? These are all perfectly normal questions for a painter to ask. It just becomes significantly more annoying when you're colorblind. And, fun fact, about 8% of the male population is, in some form or another. There are 4 common types. The most common is deuteranomaly, which reduces sensitivity to green. That's the one that I have. It makes telling anything but the brightest reds and greens apart difficult, to say the least. So if you're an artist, this can seem like a bit of a cosmic prank at times. You're like, wow, this is the only thing I'm good at, and you made the core mechanic harder! Great! Love that for me. In everyday life, partial colorblindness is merely a nuisance, which is why a lot of people don't even realize they have it. But when you're painting, you're entering into a world of frustration. In addition to studying color theory, I've developed an insane number of coping strategies just to make sure I'm not completely off. Lots of checking, lots of second guessing, tons of pre-mixing. So I'm making fewer color decisions on the fly, and over time, all of this just slows everything down. Painting becomes exhausting when it should be fun. Meanwhile, there are artists I follow that use the same wet-on-wet approach that I like, basically doing all the rendering on one layer while the paint is still wet, and they're not doing what I'm doing. Painters like Jennifer Gennari and Andrew Kadima aren't carefully pre-mixing piles of paint. They're mixing as they go, with their brushes, moving from dark to light, and because of that, they just fly through paintings. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got in art school when I was worried about my colorblindness was a professor that simply said to me, just paint the colors you think you see. Which sounds dismissive, but it's actually great advice, because at the end of the day, painting isn't about perfectly matching reality. It's about contrast. It's about relationships, especially between warm and cool shapes. If those relationships don't work, it doesn't really matter if the colors are exactly one-to-one with real life. So this video is basically just an excuse to try painting that way again. No color checking, no hours of pre-mixing paint like I'm preparing for a chemistry exam, just letting go of all the extra steps that give me a false sense of control. And when I'm done, maybe we can check my accuracy. Because I hate myself. Let's paint! Let's paint! Alright, so I took a photo before sitting down. Don't want to worry too much about what I'm painting. And I've graphed it out. Sometimes I just put graph lines on the edge of the canvas, just as a quick reference. But this time I graphed it out because I want to be worrying more about the colors I'm putting down than drawing today. And the colors I'm working with, the main ones are ivory black, cadmium red light, ultramarine blue, and cadmium yellow light, and white, titanium white in this case. You know, when you're limiting the number of colors on your palette, when you're trying to match a color, there's only so many different ingredients that you need to put in. It's either going to be more yellow or more red or more blue. Instead of mixing just with my brush, I'm going to use a palette knife just to get the bulk of the paint down, because I did try mixing exclusively with a brush the other day, and I forgot that when you do that, the paint works its way up the brush because you're really like working it into the paint, and a lot of it ends up in the ferrule of the brush, which is the part that's close to where the metal part is. I think that's what it's called, the ferrule. You know, I don't want to ruin my brushes because it's really hard to get paint out once it's worked its way up there, so I'm going to be doing a lot of mixing with the palette knife, but I'm still going to try to work from dark to light and just kind of mix as I go. And I see a black and dark brown. This looks like kind of a cool warm scheme, I think. The bulb above me is a daylight bulb, so it's gonna cast a pretty neutral light. The shadows look pretty warm though. No color picking. I just have to go with my gut. I think a good place to start with these darks would be the dark parts in the hair and my beard. So let's get started on that. I'm gonna try not to use the ivory black in my mixtures as we go lighter, but it's the darkest color on my palette, and for these shadows, like the very darkest bits, it makes it easier to achieve those because it's even darker than the blue. So I'm going to use it in these beginning stages for the darks, but as we go lighter, I'm going to avoid using it as much as I can in my mixtures, just to make sure things don't get too dull. Here we go. Darkest value. I would say that's like right there. Basically an almost black. Very, very dark brown. Another thing that's crazy about Andrew Kadima is that he paints right on a white canvas, which is what I'm doing here. Normally I would do a wash over this of some neutral color just to kill the white. So this is pretty scary for me. It kind of makes me angry. Do you get angry when you look at a white canvas? Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty dark down here too. Say that's like a third. Actually, I haven't done a self-portrait in a very long time. Just in that area underneath the nose. Can always get lighter, so it's okay if I'm a little too dark. And I'm just gonna put pure black in this one area. I do believe it's the very darkest, coolest part. Okay, I'm gonna mix a color for the shadow areas of the face. I'm gonna guess that's a... let's see. Way too chromatic. Getting a little closer there. No, good trick. If you're working off a monitor, which isn't ideal, actually, is to balance it to the brightest color that you have, which is your white. So you get a little bit of white on your palette knife, and you hold it up to the screen in the lighting that you do your painting in, and you adjust the brightness of the screen until it kind of disappears, you know, when you squint down. And that at least will keep your value structure more accurate when you're working from a screen. This is crazy that this is a shadow color. So light. I'm gonna take a more mass in approach with this one, where I try to get all the biggest planes in first, and then I will try and work into them. We're locking in! I want to mix a lighter brown color for the top of the head. There's so many browns! We never talk about brown! I just think it's time to block in the background. Get rid of that white. I might add a little crimson alizarin here in the lips. Because I want to. Shame on you. You ain't gonna get fooled again. George W. Bush. Song on repeat in my head. I think my next video should be ADHD painting. We're pulling into the station here. Oh yeah, can't forget about the ear. Good enough! Okay, I think we can call this study done. I had fun. It was good. You know, at a certain point, I kind of stopped paying attention to the exact hue of the color. I was pretty much only working with red, blue, and yellow. So it kind of just became a game of, oh, here's warmer, here's cooler. I wasn't worried too much about getting everything exactly the way it is in the photograph. And I think I got the likeness okay, you know? I can add this to my collection of depressing self-portraits. Oh my god, but look at my palette. Absolute chaos. Alright, here we go, post-mortem. Sorry if the footage was a little blurry. I'm still getting my camera setup figured out. Alright, so here we are. I think the first section I'm going to sample is this shadow color right here. So it sits very neatly in the oranges on the photo reference. And if I sample myself over here, I'm pretty close. I would say this is a bit more yellow on the photo. And mine is a bit more red. They are very close to one another. Now let's go ahead and sample this area, which is what I would consider the mid-tone of the light side. I see that it's pretty orange. Now let's go over here. Oh, wow. Hey. I'm pretty close. Let's see. This area... Yeah, no, I'm pretty close. Damn, pretty spot on. Now, let's sample my hair. I was very unsure about the brown. Yeah, so mine's a lot more red. This one is a lot more orange. Let's sample the highlight of the hair up here. Go over here. I'm once again pretty close, but mine's more red, and I would say the reference is more yellow. Try this tank top. Yeah, pretty spot on, baby. That's the power of ivory black right there. Yeah, once again. Right on in that darkest area. So the main color on the lip is pretty spot on, actually. But here in the dark areas, I think I got a lot more purple. And how about in this area, this kind of cooler section of the face? I'm right there. Yep. And finally, the highlights, I think, are the main difference between mine and the reference. I put pure yellow and white into my highlights, and my instincts tell me to go more towards that yellow light that we tend to see. The highlights are pretty pink, whereas mine are extremely yellow. But in other areas like here, I think I'm a little closer. Yeah, a little bit closer. What matters most is this relationship between colors, the jumps of hues. If you're going in the right direction, things tend to work. So, you know, the difference between this plane and this plane, that difference in hue is going to be important. So what did I learn from all of this? I think that overall, the hours of pre-mixing I'm doing beforehand isn't really resulting in a superior product. You know, just based on my instincts and my eyes, I'm getting pretty close. I'm using all of these instinctual things that I've developed over my time doing painting, you know, including just using process of elimination. I know what color the light source is. I know how light generally behaves. I also have a pretty well-developed sense of when things are cooler than what I'm looking at and when they're warmer than what I'm looking at. So I think that that also helped me get close to the colors. One thing I did notice though is I'm holding more in my mind when I'm mixing on the go. And in this case, I really got very disorganized on my palette. And by the end, I couldn't really even remember where specific colors were. I was just like, oh, this looks close enough. I guess I'll take some of this. So I think as I continue doing this, it'll benefit me to try to keep colors organized as I work. Like here's the hair group, here's the skin group, here's the clothing group. But I think I'm gonna definitely keep doing this because if it saved me this much time on a little painting, imagine how much time it'll save me on the bigger ones. So I hope you appreciated this journey into the struggles of a partially colorblind artist, and I hope that even if you're not colorblind, some of these things will help you in your art journey as well. Okay, that's it, bye!